These animals are built for raw power. Their jaws can tear through muscle and crush bone like it is nothing. Right now, this recruit is learning the art of controlled chaos, what we call controlled aggression. Give it a few months, and they will be shipping out to U.S. bases all over the world, packing enough punch to take down a fully grown man in seconds. Hard to believe they start off just like your average house pup. It is crazy to think that a huge chunk of our national security actually depends on four-legged warriors, but that is the reality. We have roughly 1,600 of these canine heroes serving in every single branch of the armed forces right now. And their journey begins right here. Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. We spent 48 hours embedded with the 341st Training Squadron, watching handlers and their partners through every step of boot camp. No matter how many we train, it feels like we cannot get these dogs out the door fast enough. The demand from the Department of Defense is massive because, simply put, these dogs are irreplaceable in the field. At any moment, you will find hundreds of recruits grinding through a rigorous 120-day program. The curriculum is split right down the middle. One part detection work, one part patrol duty. Patrol training is all about the takedown. We are teaching them to pursue a fleeing target who just will not cooperate. It is about harnessing that aggression into a less than lethal weapon, giving our troops a powerful tool to secure bases and capture bad guys without firing a shot. Good. But before they get the green light to chase down targets, these pups have to master the basics of obedience. Good, yes. We need a rock-solid foundation. Commands like sit and down have to be second nature before we can expect them to perform under high-stress conditions. Like right now, if I just tell her to sit cold, she is not quite there yet. Sit. But with a little guidance, she nails it. Yes. The secret sauce is motivation. They work because they know a payout is coming. We use marker training. The moment they get it right, we say yes to lock in that specific behavior instantly. Meet Grid. She is an absolute sweetheart. I know she has that old soul look, but trust me, she is young. I have only been paired with her for maybe 2 weeks. Right now, we are focusing on stability, making sure she holds her statue pose even when I walk all the way to the end of the leash. Down. Good girl. Another thing we have been drilling lately. Sit. Good. Is popping back up into a sit from a down position. Yes. Beyond obedience, these athletes have to conquer the confidence course. Crawl. The whole point is to get them unfazed by weird terrain, simulating what they will face on the streets or in combat zones. We have got setups that mimic jumping through windows, squeezing into tight spaces, climbing stairs, or vaulting over walls to hunt down a runner. Once that foundation is solid, and their discipline is locked in, they graduate to the intense stuff, the controlled aggression phase of patrol work, training. Flipping that aggression switch on command is not just training, it is in their blood. It starts with the breeding. These dogs come from a long line of ancestors specifically designed for this job. The Department of Defense sticks to the heavy hitters, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, and German Shepherds. We usually pick them up between 1 and 3 years old. We need a dog that is mentally bulletproof, no fear issues, no timidity. We want bold, confident animals that love to work their noses for the hunt. We need a warrior spirit, a dog that will not hesitate to bite and protect its handler when things go south. Every year, Uncle Sam buys about 400 of these elite recruits, mostly sourcing them from Europe. The rest of the squad comes straight out of the Department of Defense breeding operations at Lackland. We kicked this off back in 1998. Think of it as our ultimate backup plan. See, we used to rely heavily on getting our four-legged recruits from overseas. But what if that pipeline dries up? We couldn't risk running out of canine units. So, 1998 was the year we took matters into our own hands. We started small, building an in-house capability to breed and raise the next generation of elite, military working dogs right here on American soil. We keep the pups in the nursery until they're 6 weeks old. Then, they get deployed to loving foster families. Right here in the San Antonio community. They live like normal pets until the 7-month mark. That's the first real checkpoint where I can step in and run an assessment. We need to know right then and there, do they have the grit to make it as a military working dog? The attitude they show us as heavy-set puppies tells us exactly what kind of warriors they'll be when they grow up. The recruits that make the grade get recalled to Lackland. That's when the fun stops, and the real work begins at the Dog Training Academy. Now we enter the phase we call controlled aggression. This is where we teach the dogs the art of the takedown. It's all about apprehending bad guys. Honestly, Mother Nature does half the work. It's pure prey drive. A dog is wired to see something running, chase it down, and grab it. We just channel that natural motor. At 1 year old, they face a final exam to see if they're ready for active duty. Only 30 to 50 dogs qualify for the advanced course each year. That's where we sharpen specific tools, like that switch on, switch off aggression. We are prepping them for that one critical moment, downrange, where a handler needs to stop a suspect cold, and their only weapon is the dog at the end of the leash. We break the training down into 6 phases. Phase 1 is the field interview. The suspect walks up to the team, and the dog has to be a rock. Zero flinching. They need to hold their ground, and not just maul a random civilian who wants to ask for directions. But then, we ramp it up to the pursuit and attack. The running bite. This right here is a bite sleeve. It's basically the only thing keeping my arm attached to my body during training. It teaches the dog to target a specific zone, the bicep or forearm. Inside, you've got leather and impact foam. The outside is wrapped in tough burlap, so the dog has something to sink its teeth into. This specific model offers solid protection. When they hit this one, you don't feel pain. They're crushing the equipment, not your actual bone. At most, it feels like a little bit of a squeeze. But make no mistake, these animals are powerhouses. They can tear through muscle, and some have jaws strong enough to snap bone like a twig. If you're running full tilt and a 70-pound fur missile hits you and drags you to the dirt, you're looking at impact injuries, concussions, the works. It's a violent collision. But I'll tell you this, taking a bite is still a whole lot better than taking a bullet. It's a safer alternative to lethal force, or even some of the other tactical weapons we carry. Crucially, these dogs have an off switch. They have to disengage the second the handler gives the command. That's the hardest drill in the book. You're taking their absolute favorite game in the world and suddenly, screaming stop. Finally, the dog has to stand guard, while the handler searches the bad guy. They stay locked and loaded, ready to strike again if the suspect tries anything stupid. When I see that dog coming, for me, my heart goes through the roof. I've done plenty of extreme sports, adrenaline junkie stuff, but nothing compares to the rush of catching a charging military dog. Then you've got the patrol work. We send them out on scouting missions, hunting for hidden targets inside warehouses or out in the deep woods. What do you got, girl? The science of scent is fascinating. Imagine the bad guy is the source. The smell drifts off him like an invisible cone. You'll watch the dog start zigzagging. They bracket back and forth, turning tighter and tighter until boom, they hit the source. Once the dog signals, it's our turn to yell the challenge. We give the suspect one last chance to surrender. If they don't, we release the hound. Copy that, send the canine unit in, you're up 5th. Move out. Cover the dog. Let's get him to the target. That uncanny ability to track a scent trail downrange starts right here in the first block of boot camp. It is laser focused on detection, using training aids laced with trace amounts of bomb-making materials or illegal narcotics, teaching these recruits to recognize a massive library of dangerous smells. Our instructors use classic psychological conditioning to sharpen the dog's natural hunting instincts. The recruits we watched were young, mostly between 1 and 2 years old, and the game is simple: connect a specific smell, with a massive payout. So the dog's brain wires that scent directly to the reward, and the dog has to be obsessed with that prize, meaning if he thinks I've stashed his ball, he will hunt and hunt and hunt until he secures that target, because through endless repetition, these dogs figure out that locating the source of the odor is the only key that unlocks playtime with their favorite toy. The moment that light bulb goes on and they link the scent to the ball, they are cleared to advance to the next phase of their education. We flood this room with boxes that are either empty, full of distractors like food, or containing the specific trigger scent. In the wild, odor is like smoke. It drifts and thins out, so the dog catches a whiff at the weakest edge and tracks the invisible trail to the strongest point, zigzagging back and forth until they narrow it down and finally hit the bullseye. When they pinpoint that source, they are drilled to perform a passive alert, like snapping into a sit or laying down, but ultimately, they have to operate as a seamless unit with their human partner, and that handler needs to read the dog's body language instantly, because if the dog breaks position, it becomes way harder for the handler to confirm if a threat is actually sitting right there. Once these canines master the box drills, we throw them into the deep end with complex environments like massive parking lots and warehouses. Bronco, check. Our voice is the most powerful tool in the kit to guide, encourage, or command the dog on exactly what the mission requires. When we first introduce a search pattern, we are basically inviting the dog to come over and investigate, so we use high-pitched, happy tones. Hey, check here, look at this, convincing them that coming to us is going to be a total blast. Hey, but if they ignore that invite, we drop the octave and switch to a command voice that says, hey, check this right now, look here. Bronco, check. It really comes down to tone modulation, and with time on the leash, that communication gets more and more dialed in until the dog responds to the slightest whisper. Handlers are trained to spot tiny behavioral shifts that scream the dog has hit a scent pool. We call this the change of behavior. Take this guy, his tell is a sharp head snap. The second he hits the odor, his head whips around because he is usually chaotic, running wild and hyper. But the moment he smells trouble, he locks in with laser focus. Every single dog has a unique learning style, just like people have different personalities. So it is just like teaching a classroom full of students. From kindergarten up to university level, every individual is going to need a slightly different approach to grasp the concept. I think the biggest myth civilians have is that these dogs work because they understand the duty or the frozen mission. But to them, it is just a game they are desperate to win. A lot of folks assume these working dogs are vicious, and while we do see some aggression, the vast majority are super social, and they love wrestling with their handlers. When the vest comes off, they are just regular pups that want belly rubs and affection, just like any family pet would want from their owner. They just happen to know a specific set of skills that we treat as a game. Once the canines wrap up their FUSIX schooling, they face a final certification in detection and patrol work. About 90% of the recruits that start this journey will earn their badge and ship out to protect U.S. military installations across the globe. There is an incredible sense of pride and mission success when these teams graduate. I mean, we are out here before sunrise. We are out here grinding from 0-30 straight through to the evening. But seeing these canine recruits earn their badges and knowing they are deploying to protect a handler is incredible. Realizing they are off to tackle high-stakes missions gives you a sense of pride that is just massive. You feel it deep in your bones.